right, let's get into our volume notes. Let's talk about the volume of a prism first. So the volume of a prism is represented by base times height. But notice that this B is capitalized. When we see a capitalized B, that stands for the area of the base. So when we're talking about prisms, typically that area of the base is a rectangle. So we know that the area of a rectangle, I'm going to abbreviate rectangle, is equal to length times width. So another way that we could write the volume of a prism is length times width times height. So looking at this first example here, my base is a rectangle. This bottom part is the base. So when I'm finding the area of the base here, this is length times width, which is 6 times 4, which we can state as 24 centimeters squared. Remember, when you find the area of a figure, your units become squared. Now for the volume, we just talked about our volume equation being length times width times height. And the only piece of information we're missing now is our height. We could substitute in our length times width, which we found out to be 24. And now we're going to multiply that by 5 to find our height. So this is going to be 120 centimeters cubed. I'm multiplying three things together, so my unit is cubed to the power of 3. Now prisms can look triangular, but notice the base of my prism. Is it still rectangular? The answer is no. This is now the base of my figure. So the area of my base now changes. My area of my base is 1/2 the base times the height. So I have 1/2 my base times the height of my figure. And so this is going to give me 12 centimeters squared. Now think of height as your depth. And that's how I knew this was a triangular prism. This 8 centimeters is bumping this rectangle outwards. My height is like my depth. How far am I stretching this triangle out? So my volume is now 1/2 base times height times the height of my whole figure. So I'm going to have 12 times 8. Which is 96 centimeters cubed. And those are the notes for a volume of a prism. We lump prisms and pyramids together not only for alliteration value, but because their base is sometimes the same. So let's look at problem number 7 here. Okay, this B, this capital B, still stands for the area of the base. So looking in problem number 7, my base is a square. So we can still look at this as length times width, or we can say side squared. So 10 times 10 gives me 100. And so this is 100 inches squared. And the height of my figure is now 13. This piece right here. There's my height. The new part of this formula is I'm adding in a 1/3. Okay, so let's rewrite our formula here. We have 1/3 the area of my base times the height of my figure. So if we put this in our calculator, I get a repeating decimal of 433.3, and this is going to be inches cubed. Now you have several pages of practice, all of which look very similar to this. So if we flip our page over, our next set of notes is here, and oftentimes it'll indicate what volume they want you to find. Flip it over again, and you have even more practice available to you. Let's look at least two more types of problems. Here's a prism, and here's the base of my prism. Okay, so I know that a prism is my volume is equal to my base times my height. So I'm going to have my base, 4 times 4, times the height. Okay, how am I bumping this square up? Okay, times 7. And so if we place this in our calculator, we get 112 meters cubed. Number 2, still a prism, but now my type of base has changed. My base has changed. So if I shade this portion in here, okay, my volume is still the base times the height, and that's the area of the base. So this is going to be 1/2, 3. And this length of 4 is also the height of my triangle, okay? So times 4. And then how much is my triangle being bumped out? 1 kilometer. So if I were to put this into my calculator, I'm going to get 6 kilometers cubed. Now looking at a pyramid, let's shift our eyes down to number 5. The volume of a pyramid is 1/3 big B, the area of the base, times the height. So my base here is a rectangle. So that's going to be 2 times 4. And if I drop the height, this is times 4 as well. So my volume, and we can round to the nearest whole, is what the directions say. So this is going to be 11 miles cubed. So take the next few minutes and practice the volume of prisms and pyramids.